The Chicago Cubs are way better than we thought. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Bad for Baseball, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet, presented to you by Betway. I'm your host, Adam Peddle, joined alongside by Nicholas Paleolog. The Cubs had a pretty hard stretch of baseball, and they're going to continue to have a hard stretch of baseball in the next coming weeks. But so far, they've been doing a very good job beating the game's best. I'm talking about the Dodgers. I'm talking about the Padres. I'm talking about the Texas Rangers that look like they're having a bounce-back season. The Cubs, we knew they were a bit of a wagon in the offseason, but they're proving right now to everybody that they are legit. We're going to break down how they're doing it and much more, including some Kyle Tucker stuff. Is he going to re-sign extension now that Vladdy's off the board? We'll talk about it more, but before we do, hit that like button and subscribe to Bad for Baseball. Like I said, Nick, in the offseason, we were kind of all over the Cubs because they traded for Presley, and then they got Kyle Tucker, right? The pitching staff looked pretty good. But I didn't think they'd come out of the gate with such a hard schedule and actually dominate the way they have been.
You never know about teams like this where in the offseason it feels like everything checks out, but we've never really seen it. You know, it's like you kind of got to – it's like, okay, you did all of the necessary moves there, but is it actually going to work? Because sometimes it just never does, right? And we've seen that happen time and time again. But – in the early goings right now, I would argue that it is, in fact, working for the Chicago Cubs. Barring the series over there in Tokyo where they got swept, over a month ago, they have been a really solid ball team, right? You're talking about the division leading right now, Chicago Cubs at 12-9, just ahead of those Milwaukee Brewers at 10-9. This is a division that they can dominate, but I think what's so just like crucial to me, and you were bringing it up right there, is those 12 wins, they're not coming against the rest of that division, right? They're not coming against the bottom feeders there, because we were saying it's like, okay, well, maybe they could get, high 80s, low 90s wins in that division, but, how will they actually fare against the NL's best? So far, and again, this is just April, but so far they are faring very, very well against top competition.
Yeah, like, again, you brought up the series in Tokyo. Totally forgot that even happened, by the way.
Yeah.
Just a wild little
while
pimple.
Ago.
Look at this, like 2 Dodgers games in the middle of the spring training. That's just weird. Whatever. But then they had the Diamondbacks to begin the season. They split that 4-game series. Again, very tough competition. Diamondbacks won like almost 90 games last year.
And should potentially be a playoff team this year.
And should be a playoff team. So they split the series. That's what you're supposed to do. They go and they handle the Athletics. That's what you got to do, especially on the road. And then they had the Padres at home, and they went 2 out of 3. Then they had the Rangers at home. They won 2 out of 3. And let me mind you, this isn't the last year Rangers. This is the Rangers of this year, 11-7. So they're having a very good start to their season. Then they go on the road, and they beat the Dodgers at home. The Dodgers, who got off the historic start we talked about on this channel, they beat them 2 out of 3 games. Now, they did just lose to the Padres at Petco Park. However, there's a crazy stat out there that before this series, the Padres hadn't lost a single game at home. So the fact that they got one is like slowing down the freight train of the San Diego Padres. So yeah, they lost that, but so far they're even on the season series. And they haven't even faced their division. Look at this. They got the Diamondbacks next, back at home, 3-game series. Then they got the Dodgers, a 2-game series. The Phillies, a 3-game series. Then they finally get the Pirates. I believe this is a 3-game series on the road for the end of April to May. So when that part of the schedule comes, I think the Cubs are going to pick up a lot of W's.
Yeah, right. And I'm seeing a lot of games here with the Padres, seeing a lot of games with the Dodgers. I would anticipate that eventually they're going to get those same amount of games with somebody like the Rockies, for instance. And that should be a lot of free W's right there.
Right.
So it does feel like they are starting off their season playing a lot of the National League's best. And whilst a lot of Cubs fans walking in might have been like, oh, shoot, let's just try to weather the storm here.
Right.
They are actually exceeding expectations. Now, looking over at how they are doing it right now, that offense is, I would argue, exceeding expectations for me. You had Kyle Tucker coming in, and you had a couple other names there. But again, it was one of those things of, okay, how is it actually going to look in practice? On paper, it kind of makes sense. There's still a few holes there, but how is it going to look in practice? Right now, very, very good. They are 7th in batting average, 5th in on-base percentage, 4th in OPS, and the most important category of all of this is that they are 1st in runs. They have scored the most runs in MLB so far. I guess, Grant, you could argue that, okay, well, maybe they played 2 extra games than everyone else because they did have that Tokyo series,
yeah.
but still, first in runs, first in stolen bases. They're just doing so many things well right now.
Yeah, fourth in home runs, too. The home run ball is becoming a big part of baseball nowadays, and you got to look and see what players are doing it. Obviously, Kyle Tucker's the man. He's coming out of the gate. He's coming out hot. He's got 5 home runs. He's kind of the lead candidate right now for the MVP, which is what you want to see if you trade for the guy from a Chicago Cubs perspective. And then the other guys who are kind of popping off, Seiya Suzuki, my goodness, he's having a great start to his season. Michael Busch, it was kind of had a bright spot last year, kind of cooled off at the end, but now is getting out of the gate hot. He's got 4 homers and an OPS of 927. And how about Carson Kelly from the old Arizona Diamondback catcher over here? A little bit of a resurgence. You love to see that, but they're getting enough offense, obviously, because they're first in runs, and you pair that up with that beautiful pitching staff. Now, I'm talking just specifically about the starters, the bullpen. That's a bit of a question. Hasn't hurt them yet so far. But they got 9th in ERA for the starting pitching staff, 11th in WHIP. So obviously the stat you're looking at for a pitching staff is that ERA number. How many runs are they giving up that is earned? 9th, pretty good. A top 10 pitching rotation paired up with the number 1 offense, you could argue, in terms of runs scored, is pretty good.
I just want to go back very quickly. I feel like you glazed over Pete Crow Armstrong, and I need to give a little bit of love to that guy because the fact that he has 7 stolen bases so far and is, now, getting his OPS up there, closing in at close to 9 or close to 800, excuse me. And then also when you factor in the defense that guy provides, that's crazy. And then also Nico Horner. I think this is crazy. 7 stolen bases for Pete Crow Armstrong, 6 for Nico Horner. And both of those guys, like Nico Horner, for instance, he's batting over 300. The OPS is saying that he's at 729 right now. But we know that, 6 of those singles that he got or 6 of those walks or whatever were actually doubles. So, they're just getting contributions from all of these guys.
They got their big bats, and then they got their stolen base and defense guys. And Nico Horner is a bit of a utility player, too, up the middle, so he can kind of play multiple positions. But, you're right. Like, they got a whole kind of complete lineup. And I think we broke that down when we talked about the Cubs preseason. We talked about how, everybody has a role to accomplish on this team, and they're literally accomplishing it at their best right now, which makes sense why they're one of the best teams in all of baseball right now. Now, going over that rotation, there was some question marks with that rotation because you had guys like Matthew Boyd, Jameson Taillon. Jameson Taillon had a good year last year. So far off to a rough start. But Matthew Boyd, what were you going to get from him? He's been bouncing around. He's been a Tiger for a long time. And what are you going to get from this guy? He has a 2.01 ERA right now that's boosting that rotation. Where'd this come from? And then obviously Shota Imanaga, right? I'm pretty sure. Am I pronouncing that right?
You're asking the wrong guy here, man. I would say it's Imanaga.
Imanaga. Okay, I always say Imanaga from my stupid brain. That's what I read. Imanaga, right? He's off to an incredible start. 2.22 ERA with a WHIP of innings pitch of 28 1/3. Now, the big loss here, and don't look at the ERA because we know what this kind of pitcher is. The big loss here is Justin Steele for these guys going down for the entire season. Is this going to be a big impact, you think, for these Cubs? How do you think they're going to manage losing one of their biggest arms?
Well, look. It's obviously a lot easier when you are the number 1 offense in baseball across the board because a lot of those games, they scored 5 on us, but we scored 7, right? So obviously that is going to help you weather the storm. I think it's when the offense cools off is when you're really going to start to see a little bit of potentially the negative impact here. And eventually that is going to happen, right? You're not going to be doing what they're doing offensively speaking all season long, unless of course they're a World Series winner, which I guess, maybe I'll be proven wrong at. But I do think that it is obviously going to affect this Cubs team losing somebody like Justin Steele. Now you're asking guys like Colin Ray and, Jameson Taillon to really take that step up. I do think that now this is just so abundantly clear as to what their direction needs to be when the trade deadline is around the corner. We still are a ways to go there, so they're going to have, a couple months of baseball to try to get through here. But when they get to that point, if their offense is still around the levels that they're at right now, you don't even need to think about it. You don't need to worry about it. You're locked, you're loaded, you're ready to go. that starting pitching staff without Justin Steele, and then also that bullpen having to weather that storm of not being with Justin Steele and already not looking very good. How is that going to be? Clearly, they're going to need to pick up a couple more pitchers when the trade deadline does roll around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking right now at their top prospects because you mentioned trade deadline. I mean, they definitely got a few top prospects. Some of them they want to play, like Matt Shaw. Cubs fans, if you're in the chat, let us know. Like, I'm not too familiar. Like, do they have any, rock solid plans with Kevin over here or Jefferson? Like, are they planning on bringing them up? Jefferson's a plus A, like a high single A player, so maybe not so in the near future. But if they could chip off some of these guys and cash in and go all in, I think that this is the year to do it. When you have a guy like Kyle Tucker sitting on a 1-year deal right now, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment, when you have him on your roster, you kind of need to cash in. This is the time. So if you lose Justin Steele, and Justin Steele's really prone to injury, so you had to be anticipating that this could be a reality, and it is, then you got to be able to send off some of those bullets right now to compete, and you're proving that you can compete. So I'll be curious to see what they do at the deadline.
Well, I think that they really should, man. Like, if you're a Cubs fan, and again, like we're jumping the gun here because yes, the injury just happened. We got to see how everything falls into place, all that shit. So again, maybe by trade deadline, the pitching staff has already worked itself out, and Jameson Taillon's incredible, and we don't have to worry about it. Whatever. Assuming that it's not, though, that is the absolute clear direction.
And even if they are better, like, you probably still want to add another, like, playoff rotation arm. Because, like, I'll be honest, like, trusting Jameson Taillon in the postseason, I don't know. That's
questionable to say the least.
Especially with that bullpen. Depending on the bullpen, how it all pans out, too.
Exactly, right. Now, moving over to Kyle Tucker and just what's going on with him right now. Obviously, Guerrero just signed that big-time extension, and the reason that we are bringing that up is because it felt like him and Tucker were really the only two guys in that S-tier caliber of free agents for the upcoming class. Now that Vladdy is off the market and won't be going to free agency quite literally ever, Kyle Tucker kind of dominates that market. And I've heard that he's liking Chicago right now.
Right.
He's enjoying it, but I just find it so hard to believe that, and they're saying it right here, unlikely that he's going to sign with them, extend with them this season because, I mean, like, you do dominate the market right now.
Yeah, exactly. After seeing what Vladdy got, and now that you are the only S-tier player, like you mentioned, there's literally no reason at all I should be signing a contract. Especially that, like, here's the difference. Vladdy was with Toronto's entire career. He's made it very clear, I want to play with Toronto. That's your goal and motive, then sign. You could sign during the season at any point, and that's what he did, right? Whereas Kyle Tucker, you love Chicago. Right now, you're going on a couple dates. You're not about to marry them. Whereas Vladdy's been he's been dating us for years. We're Blue Jays fans. But Kyle Tucker, there's no reason to commit right now, man. It's been a couple dates. She's pretty sweet. She likes you. Wait till the offseason.
Well, and also, too, right, like, arguments could definitely be made that just from a pound-for-pound baseball player standpoint, Kyle Tucker is better than Vladdy. I know that Vladdy does have an additional year of youth on Tucker, but if Tucker is going to get MVP votes this year, which he is off to the start where MVP votes will be in his future, like, of course you have to hit free agency. And that right there is why, one, Chicago, you got to capitalize on what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
This needs to be a year where you are going all in, because not only might this or could this be the last time that you have Kyle Tucker, that in itself is its own little selling point, bargaining chip, everything like that. If you just kind of sit idly by and you're Kyle Tucker, well, like, do I really want to sign the rest of my life away to a team that didn't go all in when we should have gone all in?
Yeah, I need a team who's serious right now.
Exactly. I need a team that's serious right now. So go all in. Show me that with me on this squad, we have the potential to make a playoff run. And then maybe the price drops just a little bit for Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they'll definitely be in the bidding war this offseason at least. Probably with a bunch of other teams as well. Here's a fun stat. Shout out to Betway right here. Hit your picks and knock out of the park with Betway. And scan the QR code on the screen if you want to join the action. If to win the NL Central, I thought it was going to be a lot lower odds, in terms of return. It's actually pretty good. Like, it's a 166 multiplier for them to win the Central. I mean, the one competition they got, probably, everyone was kind of counting them out, but here they are again, is the Brewers.
I've never counted the Brewers out, man. I know that the Brewers they're just the Brewers. Jackson Chourio is now obviously, like, showing up in a big-time way. they don't have Brandon Woodruff back yet,
Yeah.
and he is going to come and start playing baseball again, and we forget that guy was really damn good. So I'm sure that the Brewers will be a strong competitive ball team pretty much all season long.
Yeah, but
That being said, though, I like the Cubs.
I think I like that line for the Cubs, guys. I'm not going to lie. So if you guys want to go and place that bet yourselves, you can just scan the QR code here or click the link in the details section, everybody.
Yeah, please let us know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below. Do you believe in the Chicago Cubs team? What do they need to do to push themselves over the edge? Hit that like, smash the subscribe button, everybody. We will catch you in the next one.
Cheers.